Donald Trump flew into a fury again this weekend after a report in the New York Times about the White House counsel's cooperation with the Russian probe. What exactly was that report about, and why did it touch such a raw nerve, do you think, with the president?
Well, you're right. He's in a fury, and it seems that these fury attacks are now coming closer and closer more frequently. This time he's laying into what he calls a fake news piece by the failing New York Times, as he likes to call it. Why? Because it ran a report about the White House counsel, Donald McGahn, basically saying that McGahn was extensively cooperating with the Russia inquiry led by Mueller. And Donald Trump claims that the piece implied that McGahn had somehow was ready to or had shared information incriminating to him, Donald Trump, the president. What, in fact, did the piece report? Well, the piece did report that there had been extensive interviews, about 30 hours of interviews between Donald McGahn and Mueller's investigators over the past 9 months in 3 separate interviews. What had he had shared? Well, according to the piece, he had shared very intimate moments between the lawyer, McGahn, and Trump, characterizing things such as Donald Trump's firing of James Comey, the former FBI director, his obsession with trying to get a Trump loyalist, one of his loyalists, in charge of that Russia inquiry, and other moments that perhaps we don't know about. The White House has basically tried to fire back by saying Donald Trump told his White House counsel to cooperate with investigators. He has nothing to hide, told them to testify, but there's clearly something there. You get a sense with this White House that they want to really know what McGahn said to these investigators, and they're nervous about it. They're very nervous about it. And this is obviously just part of an ongoing pattern of attacking the press. We saw last week, you'll remember, we widely reported on the story of more than 300 news outlets in the U.S. running editorials simultaneously, each independent, separately written, attacking Donald Trump for what they termed a dirty war, attacks on journalists and the press and press freedoms. And Donald Trump, in the wake of that, tweeted that the media, the press, is an opposition party, continuing branding them enemies of the people. What have we seen at the end of this weekend? Well, we've seen the acrimony and the rhetoric stepping up. We saw Trump's lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, on U.S. television using the phrase saying, "The truth isn't the truth," which sounds Orwellian, doesn't it? And it's also an echo. You might remember a couple of years back when Kellyanne Conway, a top Trump advisor, spoke of alternative facts. This is a White House now where there's its own narrative, its own version, and Trump's champions tend to believe Trump's version, no matter what he says, whether or not it's true.
There were, however, a number of former American spies that have spoken out publicly, notably after Donald Trump revoked the security clearance for a former CIA director.
You'll remember this, too. Last week, John Brennan, former CIA director, who's been very outspoken. Former CIA directors do retain their security clearance because the idea is that their expertise, their knowledge, their past experience can be very helpful to the country, to the nation, in terms of its national security. Even if they're no longer in power, even if they're no longer in their positions, they should still have access to that security clearance. Donald Trump basically lashed out at him. He's been a very prominent critic, John Brennan. Donald Trump has been absolutely laying into him. But what's new here, and this is unprecedented in a way, you've had dozens, about 60 former senior national intelligence officials, top U.S. spies, issuing a letter basically saying that what Donald Trump is doing, this revoking someone's security clearance just because they criticize him, is very dangerous. It comes on the heels of a letter by 11 former CIA directors, deputy CIA directors, one national intelligence security official, also saying that Donald Trump was using the revocation of security clearance as a political tool and trying to raise a red flag over that.
Yet Republicans have remained, overwhelmingly supportive of their president.
You could actually say more than that. Not just have the Republicans remained supportive, and a lot of pundits call it spinelessness, in the fact that they have literally rolled over and played dead because they fear the political consequences, in many cases, of turning on Donald Trump. That's not to say that there might be a small number of Republicans who absolutely, genuinely have a conviction that what he's doing is absolutely the right thing. My sense is that many more Republicans are much more wary of being seen as betraying Trump and what he will do as a result of that, and not wanting to endanger and jeopardize their political careers. You have a growing chorus of voices in the U.S. saying that the Republicans are basically shooting themselves and the country in the foot by acquiescing in Trump's corruption, acquiescing in Trump's incitements to violence, acquiescing in Trump's abuse of power, acquiescing in Trump's abuse of power to punish anyone who criticizes him. And that's where it's dangerous. Will anyone in the Republican Party basically, say the emperor has no clothes? That's the question some people are asking.
Okay, Douglas, thanks indeed for that insight. Douglas Herbert there.